I recently released this tool, this OCD Table Column Reorderer. It basically allows you to change the order of the columns on a table. Let me show you. It's probably a lot easier to see. So I select a table. I'll go to tickets, and we can see that maybe closed on was added after the fact, and maybe I don't like it at the bottom. So I'm just gonna drag it, release, and that's it. The table has been reordered. In fact, let's go here and do describe on app tickets, and sure enough, closed on was moved. Okay, and the way it does that, you can see the alter statements here. Now in this version, I'm showing what's going on, and basically every time you make a column invisible, it gets removed from the table. At least the visibility is, and then when you make it visible again, it will show again, but it will show at the end. So what we basically are doing is we're moving the closed on column, then created by, then created on, and so on. We're making them on and off, and that shuffles them to move in the new order. Very simple. Yeah, very nice trick. And you do need an Oracle 12c database because this invisible feature arrived on 12c. Now, what I want to do now is I would like to add a schema selector. I would like to be able to select what schema to order. It turns out that in this workspace, I am already showing what schema I'm connected as. I'm connected as schema Jorge. So I'm only seeing tables for that schema. But it turns out this workspace has access to another schema. I would like to be able to swap schemas. Now, sure, you could go edit the application, go into the security attributes, switch here to a different parsing schema. It's already authorized. But then I actually need to log out, log back in. And if I wanted to go back, I need to keep repeating that. And that is just not that fun. So I suspect that it's easy to do this. Two things. I have a Apex Workspace schemas view in Apex that will tell me the schemas are available. And then there's this API call, Apex Util set parsing schema, that will tell what schema to use for parsing. Set parsing schema for request. So I'm wondering if it's possible to do this fairly easy by just switching what schema I'm looking at. And as I'm saying this, I'm realizing that I'm going to have a problem in that the code that reorders is inside a package. Let me edit this. If I go to my processing, the actual reorder is done by this call, OCD Table Re-Ordered update order. So now I'm realizing that package will not be available when I switch. So, well, let's see where we get. I haven't practiced this. I'm just guessing it's going to work. So first thing I would like to do is I'm just going to create a new region. I'm going to make it I just want to see the schemas that I have available. So I have this Apex Workspace schemas. Great. So I can see that this schema will give me the two schemas that I have available. So that's great. That means that I basically need some, what was the name? Schema. I need schema. Well, I'm not sure what I'm going to need. So let's just select that schema. Actually, I would like to add an order by. I'm basically, based on this, if it's first schema provisioned, so decode first schema provisioned, if it's equal to schema, then that's going to be first, so there was second, and then just order by schema after that. Let's see what happens. Did I type this correctly? Okay. So I should see Jorge and practical. Perfect. All right. So that's going to be our base query for that. I'm going to save that temporarily here. I'm going to delete that report. I don't need it anymore. And what I would like is when I click up here to be able to see that. So let's create, basically that is a navigation bar list. And I have my desktop navigation bar, which has right now 2 entries, just showing the schema and logout. Well, I'm gonna create a new one, and a completely new list. I'm gonna go here to lists from scratch, but this time it's gonna be dynamic. And nav bar. Now, there's a syntax we gotta follow for a navigation bar list. Okay, so I'm gonna select that. I'm gonna paste it here, and level. First, I want to continue saying. I want to continue showing logout and the selected schema. So level 1 is going to be what I already have. Level 1 will be schema, and we're going to have G schema. If I remember correctly, that's the application item I created to keep track of the schema I'm on. Okay, I'm gonna keep the target right now empty. I don't know if I need to set it to a pound just to show nothing. I'm gonna say is current. For now, it's gonna be no. Oops, made a mistake there. No, it's correct. And that's it. I don't think I need any of the others for now. Now, this is just gonna show what schema I have. I'm gonna repeat this query union all, also level 1, and this is gonna be that substitution string. I specify the query. Great. Do not create a list region. Great. Now, how do I swap these two? Well, I suspect, because I haven't done this in a long time, I think if I go to my theme, I should be able to tell here navigation bar, that's just a template. Okay, so it's not going to be here. It's going to be in my user interface attributes. By the way, I'm in 18.2 because I want this app to be compatible with as many versions as possible. But it turns out that this call that I want to use started with Apex 18.1, so this modifications won't be compatible with Apex 5.1. But the current release, if you go to the GitHub project here, the releases, this last release that I just pushed a moment ago is still compatible with 5.1. So everything I showed you so far works in 5.1 and beyond. All right, getting back to what I'm doing. There it is, navigation bar list. So I'm gonna switch here to use that nav bar. Apply the changes, run the page. Okay, and it looks the same so far. And if I click log out, it works. Fabulous. I'm gonna make the O capital. All right. Now, I want this to also be part of this, but it's gonna be level 2, and I need this level 2 to go with the schema. So union all my schema. So this is going to be level 2 level. I'm going to alias this level. Okay. And schema is going to be the label. And target, we'll get back to this, but we'll have to push this to a page where we can set it. Okay, now this order, we're going to have to push this. First, we're going to call this, the A1. This is going to be our order or display sequence. Now, display sequence does not exist. Display sequence. This is going to be A1. See, I want the schemas and the label for schema to go together. I want to order by the label. So that decode is going to be my, I'm going to call it display sequence 2. Is that too weird? Yeah, that's fine. I think that's going to work. Now, logout is next, but I need the same columns, and this is going to be, my bad. This will have a 1 here for the display sequence 2. So I'm going to have those 2 display sequences, okay? Display sequence 2. Now, this is a logout. This is going to be a B1. I'm just making this up as I go. This is going to be my display sequence. And this one is numeric. This is going to be the display sequence 2 from dual. Now what we want is, I don't want to return those in my main query. So what happens is, I'm going to paste those. I actually just want the words. There you go. There. So I want those things from so this whole thing is my subselect. I close it, and my order by is going to be by display sequence and display sequence 2. And I think I'm going to add a 2 here, which is the label. You know what? Let's call it label. All right, if I've done this correctly, we should be able to edit our navigation bar list. I could have gone to the list as well, but now that we're pointing here, so I can place it here. So I made a mistake here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm still not sure how or if I'm going to use the order. Okay. Fabulous. And something went terribly wrong. I'm going to run my query here. Of course, yeah, I got bind variables there. Short pause. Okay, as I was opening SQL Developer, which by the way I need to configure for where I'm connecting, I realized that my order by needs to be by level. So level ones need to be displayed first. I think I'm doing this correctly. No, I'm not doing this correctly. Coding on the fly. Display sequence, then the level. Why? So I want this one and this children to follow together. That's why I have this display sequence be the same, A1 on both. So this will make sure that these are grouped together and they go by label. And then within the label, I'm going to do the extra sorting. Let's see if I have this correct now. Look at that. So now I have the two. Fabulous. Now, I would like to highlight the isCurrent based on which schema I'm on. So getting back to my query here, this one will now be a case when my G schema is equal to my schema, right, which I'm getting from this table. Then we return a yes. Else, now let's see how well this works. Oops, getting lost there. Apply the changes, run. Well, I can't tell if it's going to say that it's selected or not. We'll troubleshoot that later. Now, we need to be able to switch schemas now. I think I'm going to need a page, or do I? I don't think I need a page. I can navigate to the same page and switch my schema value. Now, I'm going to use this application item to keep track of the schema. I am computing what I start with when I first log in. Okay, there's a computation in place. Now, I've said that is restricted and cannot be set by the browser. I could create an item that I can actually set, or I could submit the page and set in a process. I think I'm going to leave this restricted and set it in a process. I'm going to submit the page. Mainly because this is a one-page application. Everything happens in this one page. So I'm going to make it so that these do submit in the page. So when I want to switch, I think I'm going to have a JavaScript Apex page submit. That is going to submit with our new value. Let me think about this. And simply go back to the page. So I'm gonna use, because now there's friendly URL, so I really should use a call like this. Get URL. If you're not familiar with that, local.com/API. This is a very quick shortcut to the documentation. Now, it's the documentation for 20.1, the latest as of this moment. But for what I'm doing, I am very confident that the API will be the same. I want get URL, so I can pass whatever I need. Now I need to pass items and values. Apex page, get URL, items is going to be our G schema. Values, if I go back to this, are going to be our schema. Okay. Now, I need to, I don't think I need to do anything else. I'm just going to do this. Now, I am trusting that it's going to be if somebody specifies a schema that is not part of the workspace, I'm sure there's going to be a validation there to block me from hacking that. So that's how I'm confident removing the restriction on the item. Hope that makes sense. I'm going to get my page schema and URL. So I'm going to save that. So I'm going to remove this unrestricted. Actually, I mean, we can be nice and we can have checksum required, right? And that's fine. My call will select the checksum. So we should do that to keep some of that security there. Let's go back to the list, navigation bar list, edit this, apply changes. Great. Run it. So now I should be able to switch. Perfect. So I can now switch between them. Now I'm switching. The only thing I'm switching is the value. I am still looking. These are the tables that belong to Jorge schema. Okay. What's our next step? If you remember, we were looking at the ticket. We're going to use this call. Set parsing schema. Now, there's an important restriction that we can only make this call from within the application's initialization PL/SQL code. So I'm going to grab this. We're going to go to security, share component security attributes, and here it is. That I already have my G schema, which is actually getting a value right away. So that should do it. Of course, we're going to get that other error I mentioned. So right now, I can see my apps. I can reorder. Great. That won't there. I'm going to select practical. I'm on practical. And beautiful. Look at that. I am seeing the tables from the other workspace. So I just realized that I need to clear this value when I switch. So as I generate this, is it called clear? Let's see. Clear cache. I need to clear cache. I'm just going to clear everything on the page. So clear cache for my page. And I'm going to app page ID. Okay. I'm going to do a page ID here. Okay. So customer favorites should be cleared when I switch to Jorge. Perfect. All right. That's working. Now, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have a problem here when I select a table. Sure, we'll do that. I'm going to move title. There it is. So we have an error. How do I troubleshoot this? It's actually fairly straightforward. There's an AJAX call happening, so I'm going to try that again. I'm actually going to just reload the page to get the correct order. I'm going to clear this, move delivery. I get the error, but here's the AJAX call. I'm passing the new order. Yeah, there it is. So that's a problem. My package does not exist on that schema. At this point, I'm thinking that it's reasonable that if you want to run it on others, you're gonna have to we're gonna have to declare the package, and we're gonna add that to the README. So wrong directory and PLB. Perfect. The package has no dependencies. So now I should be able to make the call. Let's do it again. Orders, delivery. There you go. Now it's working correctly. And that's it. I should be able to switch. So at this point, I'm wondering, would it be nice if it's self-contained and instead of the package, all the code was in the AJAX callback procedure? But unfortunately, the code is just a little bit too involved and I wanted better performance. And if you look at the code, I think it can be optimized a lot. It's not the most efficient, but it's keeping track of the full SQL that you're doing so it can be outputted. It's doing the loops through what it's done, does the JSON out. So I don't know, at some point I thought the code was too long. I think I am going to add a validation that lets me know the package is not in place. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I already have a validation on this page for if you're not on 12c, and that's done basically by checking this dbms dv version. So I'm going to do this or true so you can see the alert. So I have this alert. So I'm going to add another alert like this that will simply check for my package so I can let the user know that that package does not exist and they need to compile it. All right, that's all I have for now. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Well, it turns out, after I tested things a little, that I added a new page. This page is used for switching schemas. So the end result, let's run the app. But now when we're switching, we are going to page 2, and page 2 will set the schema and then redirect back to page 1. Let me show you how the redirect query is looking. We're using this feature from Apex called branch to page accept. Branch to page accept says when you arrive to page 2, just branch to the processing of the page as if you were accepting. It's just automatically. And that on that side, there's going to be a process that's going to set the value of P2 schema to our G schema. Let me show you the 2. There is a region that never gets displayed. There is an item, P2 schema. And under processing, there's a very simple process that assigns that item to our G schema application item. And then immediately we branch back to our page 1, and that's where I clear the cache. This was necessary because I needed this value of G schema to be set before our initialization code. The problem is our initialization code would run with the previous value, then the value gets set by the URL, and at that point it's too late. So I was one step behind on setting our request. I've also added validation. So now if I connect and drop the package, so now if I drop the package, I go to Jorge, it's fine. And if I go to the other schema, I will get a warning that is required. That check is very simple. I just go to the user object. So here's my warning, whatever you want it to say. And I just check if there's no rows returned from my user objects, do that. Now we could have hard coded the package. We could have just done grants. It's just different ways of doing this. As I'm shooting from the hip here, I thought this was the best way. And now as I switch, this is what happens. Switch here, this is not set. I'm going to .pls and plb. Simple. So now I switch to practical and we're all good. We're able now to pull up our tables, and more important, we're able to reorder our positions. Thank you.